The spreadsheet hit my desk at 7:42 a.m. Mergers create spreadsheets lists of names, salaries, performance scores, and a single column, recommendation. Most rows said retain. A few dozen said terminate. I was scanning the terminated list to approve the cuts when my fingers stopped cold. Line 47. Foreman, 34 years at the plant. Line 48. HR coordinator, 9 years. Line 49. Operations supervisor, 11 years. 3 names I knew better than my own signature. My father. My older sister. My brother. I hadn't spoken to any of them in 7 years. And now I, the founder and majority shareholder of Kestrel Technologies, held a red pen above their futures. The pen felt slick in my sweating hand. I could destroy them with one stroke. The cursor blinked on the screen beside me, waiting for my digital confirmation. My breath fogged the monitor, and I realized I needed to see their faces before I decided anything. So, I bought a plane ticket under a fake name, booked a room at a roadside motel with scratchy sheets and a flickering neon sign, and flew back to the town that made me the embarrassment of my own blood. The whole flight I stared at the seat back in front of me, rehearsing conversations I knew I'd never have, and wondering if I was walking into a trap of my own making. I grew up as the family afterthought. My brother Dev was the athlete football captain, scholarship to a D1 school, walls lined with trophies that cluttered every shelf. My sister Priya was the golden child valedictorian, debate champion, law review editor, the one whose photo appeared in the local paper so often we stopped clipping the articles. And then there was me. Maya, the one who talked too fast, laughed at her own jokes, collected circuit boards instead of friends, and once brought a disassembled toaster to show and tell in 4th grade. I was never a disaster. I just didn't fit the script. My father wanted a dynasty of polished professionals who could stand at podiums and accept awards. My mother wanted charming dinner party anecdotes about her children that made other parents envious. I gave them neither. I gave them a girl who brought a disassembled hard drive to Thanksgiving and asked Uncle Raj if he'd ever considered the fragility of data storage in a world that treats memory as infinite. I was 12 years old, and I genuinely wanted to talk about magnetic platters. The silence that followed my question stretched so long I could hear the refrigerator hum. That night my sister leaned close when she thought nobody could hear. She smelled of perfume and resentment. "You're so weird," she whispered, her voice sharp as a paper cut. Everyone was staring. Mom looked like she wanted to crawl under the table. I looked down at my cranberry sauce, a perfect crimson circle on my plate, and felt the familiar heat climb up my neck. I didn't understand why weird was such a crime. I still don't. But the labels stuck like gum on a shoe. At 14, I overheard my father tell a neighbor I was the late bloomer. Maybe, if the bloom exists. He said it while I was in the bathroom at a barbecue, and the window was open. I crouched on the tile floor and listened to the neighbor's awkward laugh. At 16, my mother introduced me at a family wedding as our free spirit, with a tone that meant the opposite, the same tone she used for second-hand clothes and dented cars. I became the story they told at parties, the embarrassing daughter who'd probably end up living in the basement. The one who once wore mismatched shoes to a funeral because she was thinking about an algorithm and grabbed 2 left pumps from different pairs. They turned it into a comedy routine. My brother did an impression of me that Christmas, stumbling around the living room with 1 brown shoe and 1 black, flailing his arms, and everyone laughed, even my mother. I sat on the stairs and watched through the banister, and I can still feel the grain of the wood pressed into my forehead. I learned to make myself small. I learned to apologize for existing. I learned to sit in the back seat and stare out the window, counting telephone poles, calculating the miles until I could disappear. School didn't save me. I was terrible at things that mattered to my family: public speaking, networking, small talk. I froze during a freshman oral presentation on photosynthesis and stood silently for 45 seconds while the teacher finally told me to sit down. Priya heard about it. She didn't ask if I was okay. She said, "You really need to work on that, or you'll never survive the real world." I was exceptional at things they didn't value: pattern recognition, logic, building digital mousetraps that actually worked. At 17, I coded a scheduling app for the local clinic after hours. Unpaid. Just because the problem of overlapping appointments and double-booked rooms struck me as a puzzle begging to be solved. I spent weeks testing it, refining the interface, fixing bugs. I showed it to my father on a Saturday morning. He was reading the newspaper, coffee in hand, and he glanced at my laptop screen for 3 seconds. "That's nice, Maya. Now please study for your SAT." No eye contact. Not a single question. That was the day I stopped trying to earn his approval. I closed the laptop, walked to my room, deleted the app from his phone remotely, and never mentioned my work again. The wall I built that afternoon was silent and permanent. Or so I thought. 3 months later, I won a full scholarship to a tech institute 3,000 miles away. The acceptance letter arrived in a thick envelope, and I opened it alone in my room. I told my family at dinner. Dev snorted. "Is that even accredited? Sounds like a scam." My mother said, "You'll be so far. Who will help you with, normal things?" Priya didn't look up from her phone. She was texting someone about a clerkship. I left in August with one suitcase and a backpack full of cables. I cried on the plane, not from sadness but from the terrifying exhilaration of finally breathing air that didn't belong to someone else. For 4 years I built code, yes, but I also built confidence, calluses, a tolerance for rejection. My dorm room became a startup incubator, sticky notes on every surface, whiteboard diagrams bleeding off the edges. I failed twice. A tutoring marketplace collapsed because nobody trusted strangers online to teach calculus. A campus food delivery bot got banned after it kept delivering burritos to the library late at night and setting off security alarms. But failure felt safer than the slow suffocation of being the embarrassing one. Each failure was a scar I chose, not a wound inflicted. At 23, I launched Kestrel, a logistics optimization platform that saved mid-sized manufacturers up to 18% on supply chain waste by rerouting shipments based on real-time traffic, weather, and inventory needs. I pitched it to 43 investors. Most of them looked at me like my father did, a quick glance and a dismissal. The 44th said yes, an older woman who'd built her own company from nothing. She said, "You remind me of me at your age." The world underestimates quiet girls. By 26, I had 60 employees. By 30, 400, my office overlooked the city skyline, and sometimes I'd stand at the window and remember the girl counting telephone poles. And my family? They never knew. I'd changed my surname professionally to my mother's maiden name. No social media, no hometown press. As far as they were concerned, I was still some tech support person in a distant city, probably still wearing mismatched shoes. I never corrected them. Silence was its own kind of safety. But silence also corrodes. It builds a quiet hunger to be seen. The call came from our M&A lead 6 months ago. Kestrel had identified a regional manufacturing group with strong contracts but crumbling infrastructure. Perfect for our vertical integration. The flagship plant sat in my hometown. When I saw the address, my stomach dropped. But I didn't block the deal. I told myself it was just business. I wasn't going back, I was acquiring assets. I signed off, and now, 3 weeks before integration day, I held a list that included my father's job, my sister's, my brother's. They'd all ended up at that plant over the years. My father's still a foreman, supervising the same line he'd worked since I was a child. Priya had burned out of law, the pressure of it cracking her, and she took an HR role at the plant because it was easy and familiar. Dev's pro football career ended after a knee injury his second season. He was supervising the warehouse floor, limping slightly when he thought no one was watching. None of them had escaped the gravity of that town. And now, their fates rested on a person they'd dismissed as a lifelong embarrassment. The irony was so thick I could taste it. Metallic and cold. I spent my first day back in an old sedan I rented under the name K. Sharma, watching the plant entrance from a diner parking lot. The diner had cracked vinyl booths and coffee that tasted like burnt hope. At 4:47 p.m. the shift changed. A buzzer sounded, and a stream of workers pushed through the gates. I saw my father walk out. He was 63 now, shoulders rounded, hair completely gray, a slight shuffle in his step I'd never seen before. He moved slowly, rubbing his lower back with the heel of his palm. My chest tightened, a physical band of pressure. I followed at a distance as he drove to a bar called Denny's Not the Chain, a local dive with a flickering sign and a single pool table that no one ever used. I watched him take a corner stool, order a whiskey, and stare at the baseball game on the mounted TV without really seeing it. A man sat next to him. I recognized the plant's union rep from our due diligence files, a heavy-set man named Tony with kind eyes. I slid into the booth behind them, pulled my cap low over my face, and pretended to read a greasy menu while my heart hammered against my ribs. Their voices carried in the near-empty bar. "How you holding up, Frank?" Tony asked, signaling the bartender. My father exhaled, a sound that came from somewhere deep. "Buyout's coming. Word is they're cutting deep. People with tenure are targets because our salaries are higher." He swirled the ice in his glass, the clink sharp in the silence. "I've got nothing else, Tony. I can't retire. Priya's got 2 kids. Dev's barely keeping his mortgage. If we lose these jobs..." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Tony nodded slowly. "Any chance you know someone at the top? The buyer's some tech company. Maybe they'd listen." My father laughed bitterly, a hollow sound. "Right, the only tech person I know is my youngest, Maya." I froze. My name felt like a physical touch. "She was always the odd one," he continued, his voice dropping, could barely hold a conversation. I thought she'd need taking care of her whole life. I was hard on her because I was scared. Scared she wouldn't survive out there. So I pushed, and I pushed until she walked away and never looked back." He paused. I stopped breathing. My hands gripped the menu so hard the laminated edge dug into my palm. "She was smarter than all of us," he said. I knew it. I just never said it. Thought I was building toughness. Instead, I built a wall. He rubbed his eyes roughly. "She doesn't call, doesn't visit. I don't blame her. I was a terrible father to the one child who actually had a shot at changing the world. And now I'm about to lose everything. And I can't even tell her I'm sorry." The last word cracked. Tony set a hand on his shoulder, and the bar fell silent except for the hum of the cooler. My vision blurred. 15 years of armor cracked in a dive bar over cheap whiskey and stale air. I slid out of the booth, left a 20 on the table for a coffee I never ordered, and walked into the cold night air. The parking lot was empty, the stars washed out by streetlights. I had come to witness their fear, to gather evidence for a decision that was already half made in the cruelest corner of my heart. I hadn't expected to witness his grief, and I couldn't reconcile the father who ignored my app with the man who just wept into his drink over the daughter he failed. The spreadsheet in my bag suddenly weighed 1,000 pounds, each name a living, breathing wound. I drove back to the motel and sat on the edge of the bed for 3 hours. The floral bedspread was rough under my hands. I considered every option. Option 1. Fire them. Justice. Poetic. The embarrassing sister finally proves her worth by erasing their security the way they erased her spirit. I imagined their faces when they learned who held the pen. It would be cinematic. It would also be hollow. Option 2. Retain them quietly. Never reveal myself. Let them keep their jobs without ever knowing I was the one who saved them. That would be saintly, but it would leave me invisible still. Option 3. Confront them directly. I chose option 3, but with a twist. I wouldn't save them out of spite, and I wouldn't disappear. I would offer them a deal, one that required them to finally see me, really see me, not as a punchline but as a person. That night, I called our HR integration lead and told him I'd handle the in-person notifications for the terminated list myself. He was confused, but complied. I booked the plant's main conference room for Friday at 9 a.m., and I spent the next 2 days in the motel room, rehearsing what I would say until the words felt like my own skin. I arrived early. I wore a navy suit, my hair pulled back in a sleek twist, no glasses. I looked like the CEO I'd become, not the girl who once wore pajamas to a parent-teacher conference. The conference room smelled of industrial cleaner and old coffee. I sat at the head of the long wooden table, placed my folder and pen precisely in front of me, and waited. My father was brought in first, thinking he was getting his termination. He froze in the doorway when he saw me. His face cycled through confusion, recognition, disbelief, and something like hope. "Maya?" His voice cracked, barely a whisper. I gestured to a chair. "Sit down, Dad." He sat like a man approaching a sentencing, hands gripping the armrests. Moments later, Priya and Dev were escorted in separately. Priya's mouth opened, closed. She looked thinner, older, her sharp edges dulled. Dev stared at the floor, his jaw tight, a man used to fighting but knowing he'd lost. I let the silence stretch until it was unbearable, the only sound the clock ticking on the wall. Then I spoke. "You're all on the list to be let go. This acquisition means restructuring, and your positions were flagged as redundant." Priya started to protest, but I raised a hand. "I can change that. I'm the founder and majority shareholder. Kestrel is mine. This decision is mine." I paused, letting that sink in. Dev's eyes widened. Priya's hand went to her throat. "But I'm not going to save you out of familial obligation," I continued. "I'm going to give you a chance because the man I overheard 2 nights ago at Denny's said something that made me believe he might actually see me now." I looked directly at my father. His face went pale. "You heard that?" he said, his voice breaking. I nodded. I needed to know if the embarrassment was still a punchline or if she'd become a regret. I turned to all three. "Here's the offer. Your jobs are safe, with one condition: you attend a series of family mediation sessions I've already arranged. 4 sessions. No phones. No interruptions. You listen to me. I listen to you. After that, we decide whether to be a family. The jobs stay regardless. I'm not a monster. But I won't pretend the past didn't happen. I won't be the embarrassing sister you tolerate at holidays. I'll be the woman who built this company from nothing. And you'll either respect that, or I'll walk away forever. The choice is yours." I set my pen down. The sound was a punctuation mark. Dev broke first. He pushed back from the table and stood, his chair scraping the floor. "You think you can just buy our forgiveness? You disappear for 7 years and now you're a billionaire giving us terms like we're employees?" I didn't flinch. "I'm not buying forgiveness, Dev. I'm not even asking for it. I'm asking for basic decency, the decency you never gave me. I don't need your approval anymore. I have my own. But I'm giving you the opportunity to know me. That's more than you ever gave me." He stood there, fists clenched, then slowly sank back into his chair, deflating. Priya was crying silently, tears cutting tracks through her makeup. She whispered, "We were awful to you." My father's hands trembled on the table. "I'll do it," he said. He looked at me, and for the first time in my memory, he held eye contact without deflection, his gaze steady and raw. "I'll do the sessions. I should have said this years ago, but I'm proud of you. I was too small to say it. Too scared. And I know that's not an excuse." He swallowed hard. "You're not the embarrassment, Maya, I am." Something in my chest unlocked. Not forgiveness, that's a long road, winding and uncertain, but a door opening, hinges creaking with disuse. I nodded slowly. Priya said, "I'm sorry. For that Thanksgiving. For every time I called you weird." Dev rubbed his face and muttered, "Me too." That impression I did, I still feel sick about it. I didn't hug them. I wasn't ready. I stood, gathered my files, and said, "Your retention letters will be emailed by noon. The first mediation session is next Wednesday at 4 p.m. at the therapist's office downtown. I'll be there." I walked to the door, then paused with my hand on the cold metal handle. "Oh, and one more thing." They looked up. "I'm still the same weird kid who likes taking things apart to see how they work. I just get paid for it now." I left before any of them could respond. In the parking lot, I leaned against my rental car and let the morning sun hit my face. The sky was a pale, washed blue. The embarrassing sister didn't save their jobs to prove a point. She saved them because she finally understood that her father's cruelty was a twisted form of love, one he never had the courage to correct. And she saved them because she could. Because power isn't about revenge. It's about choosing who you want to be when you finally hold all the cards. I chose to be someone who builds bridges, not burns them. That doesn't erase 15 years of hiding in back seats and crying into pillows. But it starts a new chapter, one where I'm the author. And the ink is finally in my own hand. Kestrel integrated the plant successfully. My father started sending me articles about supply chain innovation clumsy forwards, with no message, just a subject line that said "thought of you." Priya invited me to her daughter's ballet recital. I went, sat in the back row, and watched a little girl in a tutu spin awkwardly. Just like her aunt might have done, Dev and I had coffee at a diner that wasn't Denny's. We mostly talked about football and avoided the heavy stuff, but we were in the same room without tension, and he made a joke about his knee that made me laugh. That was enough for now. Mediation was brutal and messy and honest. I learned things I never knew. My mother's anxiety about appearances. My father's own childhood with a belittling parent who never said "I love you." The pressure my siblings felt to be perfect because they were terrified of ending up like me, the one they'd been taught was a failure. It didn't justify their treatment, but it made them human. And I let them see my scars the nights I cried alone in my dorm. The years of therapy. The terror that I might actually be as worthless as they made me feel. We cracked open, and some light got in. It was painful and slow, like cleaning out an old wound, but it was healing. I never moved back. I'm not that girl anymore. But we talk every week now. We're learning to be a family that doesn't shame the quiet ones. I'm still awkward at parties. I still obsess over code and occasionally talk too fast about things nobody else finds interesting. And I'm still the one who wore mismatched shoes to a funeral. But now when someone calls me weird, I smile and say, "Thank you." Weird built a company that employs 400 people. That usually ends the conversation. And if you ever feel like the embarrassing one in your family, remember, the very things they mock might be the seeds of your greatest power. Just give yourself permission to grow them. My father gave me pain, but I gave myself a life. I hope you do too. If this story resonated with you, please like this video so more people can hear it. I'm sharing my journey to remind you that you're not alone. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Tranquil Drama Stories for more deeply personal stories that might just change how you see your own life. Every subscription helps us keep bringing these narratives to light. But that wasn't the only secret my family kept hidden. The mediation sessions revealed a letter my grandmother wrote before she died, a letter that changed everything I thought I knew about my past. It was folded and yellowed, hidden in a box of my mother's things. But that's a story for another time.